I want to thank everyone for being here with us today. To be in front of you twice in 1 week truly says something about the sense of urgency we have in the leadership here at UT to move volunteer athletics forward to greatness. Today, we are here to formally introduce Dr. Danny White, who we announced yesterday as our new athletic director, vice chancellor and director of athletics. Before I hand it over to Danny, first, I want to thank President Boyd and Chairman John Compton for their support in helping me find our new athletic director. More importantly, helping me convince him he wanted to come here. Their guidance and support has been absolutely invaluable. And I also want to thank the many others in Vol Nation who've offered great advice and great support. I want to give you all some insight into how this all transpired over the last few days. We retained Parker Executive Search Firm on Saturday, and they began to compile a list of potential AD candidates. I spent Monday evening and all day Tuesday taking calls and talking to different groups inside athletics, such as head coaches, senior leadership team, Student Athlete Advisory Council, the Faculty Senate Committee on Athletics, and groups of donors, just to try to find out what should we be looking for in our next athletic director. We were confident that the position would be attractive and attract robust interest. We were immediately proven correct. Our search firm presented us with an impressive and diverse list of prospects, but it was clear who the top candidate was. It was Danny White. We moved swiftly, and I had my first conversation with Danny on Tuesday night over Zoom during the Tennessee-Florida basketball game, actually. We both missed that. On Wednesday morning, President Boyd and Chairman Compton and I had a 90-minute Zoom meeting with Danny. And that evening, the three of us flew to Orlando to meet with Danny and his lovely family. So glad y'all are here. And we were blown away by his ideas, his character, his commitment to both academic and athletic success. Sean, Aiden, Molly, Caitlin, and James, welcome to Knoxville. We are so happy that you can be here today to help us celebrate this great day for your husband and father and our next athletic director. Danny is a leader, an innovator, a builder. He comes from an extraordinary family of college athletics administrators, including the renowned and respected athletic director, his dad, at Duke University, Kevin White. As a matter of fact, a little side note, as I was reaching out and asking people for input about what should we be looking for in an athletic director, I was speaking with Peyton Manning, and he said, I called Coach Cutcliffe and said, what should I tell her about qualities in an athletic director? And he said, tell her to pick someone exactly like our athletic director, Kevin White. And that was just really amazing because we did our best because we hired his son. The irony is Peyton had no idea that Danny was on our short list. Danny has a stellar record of hiring great coaches and winning championships. His first task will be to hire a new head football coach and then support the hiring of assistants and others in the athletic department. In these searches, he will, of course, be looking for fierce competitors and proven champions, but he will also be looking to assemble a team of diverse backgrounds and talents, a team with character and integrity, and a team that reflects his own commitment to all our student athletes and to the best traditions of the University of Tennessee. It is my sincere honor and privilege to welcome Dr. Danny White to the great University of Tennessee. Danny.
Good morning, good afternoon. What time is it? I don't even know what day it is right now. Appreciate you guys making the time to join us this afternoon now. Really excited to be here. So proud to step into this unbelievable opportunity. Want to thank Chancellor Plowman, Chairman John Compton, President Randy Boyd. Just met these guys in the last couple of days, and it's been an absolute whirlwind, and so impressed with their leadership and their commitment and their obvious love and passion for this place. And when I finished the Zoom on Wednesday morning, and then I got a call from the search executives and said, that went pretty well. I said, okay, what are next steps? And they said, they're going to be in your living room this evening. And I thought that they are pretty aggressive. And I like that. I like to think that I'm pretty aggressive. And we need to be aggressive here at Tennessee to get where we need to be and get this athletics department where it belongs at the very top of college athletics nationally. I'll be remiss if I didn't talk about some folks that gave me an unbelievable opportunity at UCF. Dr. John Hitt, the president that hired me there, President Whitaker, and President Cartwright, the current president there, the student athletes, the coaches, the staff that bought into a vision that 5 years ago people thought we were insane, talking about doing some things that had never been done before, and it's all been accomplished and it's only going to continue. Very proud of the work that we did there, and proud of the folks that contributed in that effort. And our success, and any success that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of at UCF, at Buffalo, it starts with building a strong plan. And I really look forward to doing that with student athletes, with coaches here at Tennessee, with key contributors. Just had the opportunity to meet with folks that have invested not only financially, but emotionally and in every way possible in this place for many, many years. And can't wait to get to work with everybody on building what is that vision. What does Tennessee athletics need to look like 5 and 10 years from now? How do we regain our stature as a dominant college athletics brand in the Southeastern Conference and across the country? Donde had mentioned, Chancellor Plowman, about my background a little bit. I like to consider myself a product of college athletics. I grew up around student athletes, around coaches, on campuses, having donors over to our house, having teams over to our house. Like these guys, I was probably pulling on players' jerseys and getting them to give me piggyback rides as a kid. My mom, incidentally, was telling me stories of when she was a track coach, and she would bring her team here and spend a week in Knoxville for big meets back in the day. So we have a long history in college athletics. I like to say that we're not smart enough to do anything else. We've all kind of found ourselves working in this profession, but it's really because it's such a unique industry. It's bigger than that. What we talk about on our staff, college athletics is not a job, it's a lifestyle. And you have to be bought into it. You have to believe in it. You have to believe in the student athlete experience. So before anything else, I'm extremely student athlete centric. I want any student athletes here at Tennessee to hear that from me as the director of athletics. Call the student athletes at UCF. They'll confirm it. Every single decision we make will start and stop with their best interests. That's what we're going to be all about. And if we do that, we're going to see greater and greater success, and we'll help them become the best versions of them, the best version of themselves as an athlete, as a student, as a person, so they can leave here, so that they will leave here and have every success in life. Integrity is an enormous part of who I am, of the people that we hire. I want a head coach that I can trust unequivocally, and that I know that person is going to hire a staff full of high character people. And that goes beyond just staying within the rules or following regulations, whether they be university, conference, NCAA. It's bigger than that. It's having the right moral compass that's going to rub off on our student athletes, be a role model for our student athletes, and make sure that we're developing them in every way possible that their parents would be proud of, that all of us would be proud of. Integrity is huge. And I believe college athletics is all about the people, recruiting and retaining talented student athletes, coaches, staff to surround them, how we surround them. I think the same coach can be successful or not based on how they're supported from an administrative standpoint and everything that needs to happen from a day-to-day basis, the energy that we approach our job with every day to support our programs. It's the people that make the difference. Great facilities like this and the benefactors that invest in things like this are game changers, obviously in recruiting. But if we don't have the right people, it's for naught. We have to be very intentional about recruiting and retaining and developing our talent here in all facets at Tennessee athletics, and building a championship culture. We talked about this the other night. There's a lot of different ways to define culture. The way we've defined it at UCF is, at least a symbol of it, is when I see student athletes realizing, any team, they're not going to be successful if the individuals don't realize that the team goal is bigger than themselves. But beyond that, the team's understanding that the overall athletic department and the success of all the teams around them is bigger than just their individual team. And when I see student athletes going to support each other at different events and caring about what Tennessee athletics is as a whole, and what that brand is that they're all representing on the national stage, and taking pride in building that brand, that's championship culture to me. That tells me that they know they're a part of something big and part of something special. And I think that's where we can achieve greater and greater success. And a lot of that may be already in place. There's a lot of great things happening at Tennessee athletics. There's unbelievable Olympic sports that have accomplished so much. There's a great and storied history. We obviously have some work to do on our football program, as the chancellor mentioned, from a leadership standpoint and candidly a competitive standpoint where we've been. And we need to get to work on that. So the Tennessee opportunity, I saw an opportunity, and I'm flattered by the chancellor's comments about classifying me as a builder. That's always how I've thought of myself. I've never worked at the big brand place until now. And I actually like the fact that the brand needs to be polished a little bit, needs to be elevated back to where it was just not that long ago in the college athletic space. And I'm really excited about the prospect of doing that, and bringing Vol Nation together, bringing a fan base together from a positive support standpoint, a collaborative effort. It's not just the big donors, the medium-sized donors, all the donors. It's not just the season ticket holders. It's not just our student athletes, our staff. It's everybody that cares about this place. If you're upset or you're negative, text your buddy. Don't put it on social media. Let's build some positive momentum. We're going to have new leadership in our football staff. We have great leadership across the board in all of our sport programs. They need all of our support. And positive momentum comes from everybody that cares about UT athletics. And I'm really looking forward to the charge of hopefully doing my part to inspire that. But again, it's an all hands on deck type of deal. There's no one person that can do that. And if we all work together and get the right people, as I mentioned, on the bus here, I couldn't be more excited about the success that we can have here. We can compete. This place has already shown, and is showing in many sports, we can compete for Southeastern Conference championships, which means we can compete for national championships. And in the future, we want to do a whole lot more of that. So just a few comments from me. Again, I appreciate everybody coming to join us today. I know we have folks virtual in the COVID era that we're in, and whether you're virtual or in person, thanks for being here, and look forward to answering any questions you may have of me.
All right, we're going to start with a few questions in the room, and a reminder to please introduce yourself with your name and outlet. We'll begin with Rick Russo and then Brent Hubbs.
Danny and family, welcome to town, first of all.
Thank you.
Rick Russo, WVLT here in Knoxville. So when Donde and Randy went to visit you in Florida, what was it that they said that really sold you on this position? And why didn't the football investigation deter you from maybe taking the job?
One of the things I think I mentioned that evening, or maybe it was in the Zoom earlier in the day, or at some point, if everything was humming here and going great, I wouldn't be standing here. It wouldn't be an attractive proposition for me. I was really proud and excited about what we were building kind of from the ground up at UCF. And this isn't a ground up because it's been there. But there's a lot of building that needs to happen. So the challenges in terms of the NCAA investigation, and the challenges in terms of not being where we want to be competitively in football, that excites me, that energizes me. And I want to be a part of fixing it and a part of building it. And so going back to what they said, I think it's probably about more how they said it. When I saw the alignment of the leadership of this university and how they connect with each other, and as I mentioned, the obvious love that they have for this institution, it's hard to identify, but my wife and I talking, we just felt like it was something we want to be a part of. And we knew, and I've known coming through the college athletics ranks, what Tennessee athletics is and can be on the national stage in college athletics. And again, just want to be a part of it.
Brent Hubbs with Vol Two quick questions. One, what is your message to your football players and what's your timeline for a coach? And two, you mentioned being at a big place kind of for the first time. You're known as an innovator. How's the balance of innovation and tradition? How do you balance that, which is probably a little bit different than what you had at Buffalo and at Central Florida? And that's not a knock on their traditions at all, but obviously this is a pretty traditional place.
Yeah, there's no knocking on the tradition of UCF, and they take pride in the fact that they're so young. So yeah, it is different. But I'll touch on the first question first. I'm meeting with the football team later this afternoon. I have never started a coaching search without hearing from the student athletes. They know a whole lot what's going on, what's going well, what's not going well. I'll ask them to vote. They're hearing, if they're watching, they're learning this right now. I'm going to tell them again this afternoon. But I'll share a little bit about my philosophy and how we'll be approaching things here. But I want them to vote on team leaders. I can't meet with 100 people and have a meaningful meeting. I want to meet with 6, 7, 8, 9 of them and give them a little bit of time, give the rest of the team some time to, after they voted on their team representatives, and give them time to kind of download everything they're thinking. And I'll ask that group to share with me, represent to me what the thoughts are, what's the tenor of the roster, what they think they need in terms of attributes. We're not going to be going over candidates. That's not fair, obviously, to potential candidates. But that's helped me in every search that I've been a part of, that I've led. And I think it's been a big part of why the vast majority, if not all of those searches, have led to a better than expected first year, which allows a new leader of a program to get some momentum early on. In terms of tradition, I have a lot to learn about Tennessee. I want to continue to be innovative. I want us to be a place that comes up with that new idea. I love it when other athletic departments follow what we did at UCF, steal our ideas. I take great pride in that. But we're not always going to have great ideas. We're going to have some bad ideas too. We got to make sure we don't have too much pride to stick that one in the trash can because it didn't work. But you're right, and I do acknowledge it's a different place. The same things that we did at UCF aren't necessarily going to be applicable here. And I recognize and I honor the vast tradition here, and so it's a balancing act.
Denny, David Owen with The Athletic. What does your process look like for hiring a coach? Can you kind of walk us through what that, from sort of start to finish, how you envision that process playing out?
Ideally, in the age of social media and everything, I don't know if it'll be possible, but ideally it starts and it ends with the student athletes. And I've been able to accomplish that in most of, I think all 3 of my football searches, but I want to hear from them first, and I want them to be the first ones to find out who their new coach is. What happens in between, there's a whole lot going on there. I'm going to do a lot of homework. I'd spend a lot of time researching and calling on. I'm fortunate to have a pretty significant network in intercollegiate athletics. And I realize it's probably because of the way I grew up, but I can get a candid opinion about folks and really understand who they are from a character standpoint. I don't want to even be interviewing someone if I have questions about that, and make sure that the person we're bringing in to run our program is going to do it the right way. It's going to do right by these kids, and is going to have an aggressive vision to get us highly, highly competitive. So I don't know that I can offer any more detail than that because it's a pretty fluid situation.
Danny, have you talked to Kevin Steele? Is he a candidate for the head coaching job? And do you feel like you need to get somebody in place before the Wednesday signing day in February?
Hadn't thought as far in terms of the Wednesday signing day, kind of operating on about 3 hours sleep for the last 6 days combined, trying to figure this all out. I'm scheduled to visit with Kevin later this afternoon. Everybody's a candidate. Everybody in this room is a candidate at this point. We have not narrowed. Yeah, go ahead. Email me your stuff. We have not narrowed this thing down at all. We're working through it, and but we are going to move quickly. And I think there's a way, just as I've witnessed with how quickly our leadership moved, and moving us a lot quicker than we ever thought we would in terms of making decisions. I think there's definitely a way, and I've done it before, to move very quickly and make sure that we're not taking shortcuts and that we're getting the right person.
We're going to transition to 2 Zoom questions. We're going to do Dennis Dodd from CBS and then Mike Wilson from the Knoxville News Sentinel.
All right, you got me? You hear me?
We do.
Yeah, thanks. Danny, congratulations, first of all. The one thing you can control is the timeline for hiring a coach. The one thing you can't control is an NCAA investigation. We haven't even gotten the notice of allegations yet. What do you tell prospective candidates and recruits who want to know, what the future is ahead?
I've already learned and will continue to learn more working with outside counsel that's involved in the investigation and just looking at case precedent with other NCAA cases. Until it's done, nobody will know exactly what the final results are, but we will be very transparent and honest with the candidates involved in this search and give them a good forecast for what that'll look like.
Yeah, Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel. Danny, your track record of hiring coaches is pretty impressive. What has allowed you to consistently find maybe an outside the box or just a big time hire that other people might not have considered? What's made you so successful in that area?
Did you say my track record as a player and coach?
More so the hiring coaches, but if you want to talk about your player status, that works too.
Because I got to fall on a sword on that one. I was not a very good player at all, and had a short stint as a coach. I want to be honest about that, but I think that what I've tried to do is similar to how we market our program in terms of building a brand, whether it be in a community, building a compelling case for support and philanthropy. I think the same is true in hiring a coach. Is how are you landing in a space where it's distinctive? What's different about this person that's going to change things in a positive way for your program? It's going to change the type of kid or the type of talent you can get in a recruiting standpoint. What's their vision from a scheme standpoint that makes sense for your institution geographically, recruiting wise? And at the end of the day, what I would like to do and what I typically do is narrow a list to those that I feel comfortable with, as I mentioned, from a character and integrity standpoint, that I feel like there is something distinctive that makes us stand apart, that's different about the prospect of their leadership on paper, on video. You can do a whole lot of research online as I do. At some point, it comes down to a gut feeling, and the interviews matter, and winning the job really matters. That's where the final decision comes.
Come back to the room for Trey and Wes.
Trey Wallace, Fox Sports Knoxville. University of Tennessee football fans kind of feel like they've lost trust of the program over the last few months and the way things are going with the NCAA investigation and whatnot, and then the coaching hires. How do you build back that trust as a new athletic director coming in? Maybe you did this at UCF when you first took the job down there, but what do you say to the Tennessee fans that are just kind of wavering right now, waiting for that next move?
I'll repeat what I said to our chancellor a couple nights ago. I hate to lose, and I imagine our fans hate to lose maybe as much as I do, but there's not many people that hate to lose as much as I do. I want the same thing they want. I want us to get extremely competitive. I want us to be competing for championships. And if that could happen tomorrow, I would snap my fingers and make that happen. So I guess I'm asking for their trust to know that they have an athletics director that is going to work his tail off to figure out how to get the right leadership and the right staff and the right support around our football program to make sure that happens as quickly as possible while doing it the right way. Because if we don't do it the right way, it's not going to be sustainable. We need to build a football program like this university has had in the past that is sustainably, consistently competitive on the national stage. And I want our fans to know how bad I want that. I wouldn't have signed up for this if I didn't think we could deliver that. It's going to be a lot of work. And we need their support. Like I mentioned earlier, we need them to be positive. We need them to be bought in and supporting our student athletes. Imagine being a 19-year-old kid getting out of bed in the morning, a dorm room or an apartment. I don't even know where the student athletes live here yet. And it's 50 degrees outside and you got to go hit the weights and your Twitter feed's full of a bunch of negativity. We can't have that. We need all of Vol Nation to be bought in, be positive, and support this program because they're a part of it. They're a big part of the momentum that we need to build from this point forward.
Danny, Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports. I know you mentioned earlier that the NCAA, it's always a tough situation to figure out exactly how they're going to rule on something. Did you need some kind of assurance during this process that that the football situation here wasn't going to be crippling, that it was going to be something that you could build back from, even if it was worst case?
I don't know that I ever considered that it would be crippling. I don't think a university and an athletics department and a football program with this much history and this much going for it is going to be crippled by something. I think it's a matter of how long is it going to take to climb out of it. And I didn't make this decision in a short-term type of way. I view this, hopefully, if y'all will have me, you might be running me out of here in 6 months. I don't know, but hopefully this is something that I'm building for the long term and being a part of for the long term. And so I'm not, contemplating, is that some of the short-term scenarios. And I think in any reasonable scenario, as you look at case precedent with other issues, that we've seen across the country, nothing's insurmountable. We can get through this, and we'll get through it the right way, and we'll get the program right back to where it needs to be.
Welcome to Knoxville, Mr. White.
you.
Madison Blevins here with WBIR TV. You talked about it some, but what excited you about coming to the University of Tennessee and the tradition and the brand that you discussed? And also, did you seek any outside counsel with this decision or advice from anyone in the business to take this job?
I talked to folks in my immediate family that are uniquely positioned to help me. Obviously, my dad and my brothers, one's an AD and one's a basketball coach. There wasn't a whole lot of people I could talk to, one, because of how quickly it was moving and just how confidential the process needed to be for my sake and for the sake of Tennessee. I just, the more I learned about it and the more what gelled it and sealed it for us is these three individuals, the leadership and what I mentioned earlier. They really care, and I really felt like I have and I would have their support unequivocally. And it's a big job. It's going to be a big challenge, and there's strong leadership here. And I was in a great situation. Never thought I'd leave. If you would ask me 7 days ago, I would have said no, never leaving. So I'm not walking away from something. I'm running towards something that I think is a unique, a once in a lifetime opportunity to restore one of the most iconic brands in college athletics.
Back to Zoom for 2 more questions. We'll go David Pascal, then Mike Bianchi.
Danny, congratulations. David Pascal from down here in Chattanooga. You've worked in the SEC before, so you know about the passion of its football. I was curious what the first few weeks and months of 2018 were like for you. I would imagine your inbox was getting pretty full when there was that back and forth of who the real national champion was. I just didn't know what that time was like for you, and if you could share maybe 1 or 2 of the more amusing responses you got.
Well, it was all amusing. There was more than one national champion that year, and I look forward to a better postseason. I think everybody knows that, and I think we're on the right track towards getting it. I think it's gonna be awesome for college football. It's gonna be awesome for Tennessee. It'll be awesome for all of college football, and for the student athletes that compete and participate in it, and should have the ability to settle it on the field. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm on the other side of that conversation now. I'll have been for a few hours now. But if I had to do it all over again, I'd do the same thing. I think that what those kids accomplished that year needed to be defended, and felt like in the role that I was in, I needed to fight for them and what they had accomplished, which was phenomenal. An undefeated season is really tough to do. And I'd do it again for any of our teams here. And that's just who I am. And as I mentioned, I believe in student athletes, and I believe in the true spirit of competition.
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Danny, congratulations. You've turned down some other big time offers to stay at UCF, maybe even some better jobs than the one you're taking right now. I'm just wondering what made this one different, that you wanted to leave UCF now. And also you said everybody's a candidate for the job. Is Josh Heupel a candidate for the job?
Mike, I consider you a candidate. Are you interested?
Absolutely.
What makes this one different is, like I mentioned earlier, the opportunity to build. and you saw in the Orlando market, Mike, that where we were 5 years ago and what I was fortunate enough to be a part of there. I just think that being a change agent and it takes a whole team. It's not one individual. It's not a small group of individuals that are going to be responsible for what needs to happen here. But I want to be a part of things like that. I'm not a placeholder type of leader. I'm not. I don't mean that negatively towards anybody. I'm not going to pick an example what I'm trying to say, but if there's not an opportunity to build and fight for something, I'm going to be bored to tears. I don't golf. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I love college athletics and I love trying to impact positive change. And there is a great opportunity here to do that.
Before we get to the Chancellor, we'll take two more. Blake in the room and then Gentry Estes from the Tennessean on Zoom.
Danny, Blake Topmeyer with Knoxville News Sentinel. Regarding the coaching search, one, do you consider head coaching experience a requirement for the job? And then two, you've mentioned the social media of Vols fans. It's well known. How do you prevent a scenario where it becomes kind of hire by fan survey, as happened the last time this job was open?
The last few coaching searches I've done at UCF, there was that list of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody's debating who it should be, and the people we hired weren't even on that list. I'm not paying attention to that list. If I am, then I don't know why you hire me. You might as well just go look at the list and start calling them up and see who wants to do it. It's way more in depth than that, and we're going to be expansive in our search and make sure that we turn over every single stone and look for, again, what makes this place distinctive. We'd love to excite our fan base with whatever the hire is, and hopefully we do. And hopefully, sometimes as I think about when I'm in a room with people with opinions, and all of them have jobs that they're way smarter than me. There could be a doctor or an electrician, and they can all do all sorts of things that I would not be able to do in a million years. But I'm a reasonably smart person. I'm going to be really, really close to this. And I'm going to have all the facts at hand, and I'm going to do my very best to make the best decision for the University of Tennessee and its football program. So I asked our folks to know that I'm going to put everything I have into this search and make sure that that we're making the best decision with everything that we know. And I think that they're going to like the outcome. And most importantly, I think our football program is going to thrive as we move forward on whatever that solution is.
Yeah, hi, Danny. You've spoken in the kind of piggybacking on that. You've spoken in the past about a preference for entertaining up-tempo brand of offensive football, and to an extent, a new hire winning the press conference to help generate momentum and interest. How do those views change, if at all, now that you are at the big brand place?
Well, schematically, I think that's a more complicated conversation. I'm not at a place yet where we've identified. I need to talk to these student athletes and do a lot of work starting today on what type of recruiting plan and scheme and vision we think is going to give us the best opportunity to compete in the Southeastern Conference here. You always want to win the press conference. You want people to be excited and celebrate. I hope we're winning the press conference today. You guys are going to tell me about that later or tomorrow. But I think why would we want people to not be excited and positive about what we're doing? But we're not going to try to win the press conference and not hire. What's the word I'm looking for? We're not trying to win the press conference by making a decision that we don't feel good about in the short and long term as the best leader to take us to where we all want to be.
Thank you, Danny. Now we'll transition to questions for Chancellor Plowman.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
We'll start with taking a few questions from in the room. Begin with Brent Hubbs.
Chancellor, two things. One, will you guys use a search firm for the hiring of the football coach as you did with the athletics director? And two, you spoke about identifying Danny as a candidate. When you sat down and got those list of names and talked to people, what were the visions that you had? What was the most important things you needed to see in the criteria for an AD that Danny had?
I wanted to find a builder, someone who has built things, built a strong program, and who would want to come here and join me in that same task. That's what I see I'm doing, is trying to help build this university and take it to the next level. And building this athletic department and the brand, just as Danny talked about, that was probably the single most important thing that I was looking for. The second thing was already had been an athletic director, so experience in the role and successful experiences in hiring coaches. The search firm, Parker? That's up to Danny.
Chancellor, in the short time, we were just here Monday, but in the short time where there may be other candidates that might have stood out, but what was it that kept drawing you back to Danny White?
I can think of two things. The search firm said, I don't think I've told you this, but they said when we called to see if he was interested, he said, I could win a national championship there. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they told me. And I think the way he talked about this has been a big brand. This has been the iconic brand, and it might not be flourishing like it has in the past. Let's get that luster back. And so I told someone that was sort of drop the mic moment for me. And so he's just, his experience, energy, positivity, those were all things that just made it seem like a no-brainer.
Chancellor, when something happens at this rate of speed, how do you thoroughly vet the candidate? And is that something that you did, or do you rely more on the search firm to handle that vetting process?
So a couple of ways to talk about that question. I've said to people before, I have a really good track record at hiring effective leaders. They haven't happened to be in athletics. So I think I feel confident about that judgment of mine. The search firm really did a great job of bringing forth candidates. And we did and they shared with me research. I mentioned this the other day, that when I saw the ranking of the 20 best athletic directors in the country, and this guy, Danny White, was number 4, I was thinking, that looks interesting to me. So it was a fast process, but that's why you hire a search firm, to really bring the people from the industry, the domain, athletics. And then I thought, I feel confident in my judgment about leaders and builders and change makers.
Chancellor, is there any update on when you might know when the investigation might conclude?
I wish there was. No, I don't know any more than I said. It was just Monday. I can't believe we were here just Monday. Yes, I don't know.
Go to Trey.
Chancellor Plowman, when you look at the coaches that are currently football coaches, meaning that are currently still on contract or have contracts that go towards next year, the year beyond that, what is the plan going forward over the next few weeks in regards, because we're talking about recruiting here, we're talking about stability with players. What's the plan with the coaches going forward, not just Kevin Steele?
So those plans will be made by our new athletic director. And so when he tells me what they are, I'll be able to tell you. How's that for dodging that question? We have an athletic director. Those are his decisions and his responsibilities. Yeah.
We'll turn back to Zoom for 2 questions. First, Luis Fernandez, and then Austin Price.
Chancellor Plowman, how difficult was it to convince people to come to this job? This is the 5th athletics director in a little over a decade. Obviously, a lot of instability with the football coach. How difficult was it to convince people that, this is a job that they can have and keep for quite some time?
Can you repeat that last part? I don't think I got the question.
Chancellor Plowman, how
difficult was it? Well, I tell you, I had a small search committee of 3 people, me, John Compton, and Randy Boyd. And I decided we're just going to take the big guns, go down to Orlando, and put on the hard sell. And it seemed like it worked. In seriousness, I think that the alignment of the leadership at the University of Tennessee right now is I'm sure they've had well-aligned leaders in the past, but not maybe the recent past. And I felt like that was a selling point of this place. And I said to Danny, I think of not 3-legged stools, but 4-legged stools. and we got 3 of the legs, and I need to get the 4th. And he really seemed like he would be well aligned with this team that we have.
Chancellor Plowman, Danny spoke multiple times about, like, social media and, getting everybody, being more positive. Every time you tweeted the last 6 to 8 weeks, your Twitter feed was filled with comments. How much can you speak on just, not only affecting, somebody, like you, but affecting student athletes, how important that is to kind of get everybody going in the right direction?
I love what Danny said. We need to be positive. And it's hurtful when you see those things on social media. I'm a grown up, so I can't quite imagine what that's like for a 19-year-old. But I think that'd be a great starting point for us today, is to try to think about positivity on social media. Social media can be great, but it can also be painful. So let's move in a positive direction.
We've got time for one more in the room, if there are any. All right. Chancellor,
Thank you very
Danny, thank you
much.
very much. Thank you, everyone.